Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Back when I was studying production in school, they had us watch this film called Network. And even if you've never seen the film, you've probably heard the quote, "I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore." And we have this photograph of Howard Beale, one of the film's main characters, and he gives this great speech, this monologue, talking about how people want to be left alone. He says, "You want me just to leave you alone in your house with your TV and your toaster and be left alone?" He said, "Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. And they're not going to leave you alone either." And who are they? The government. And now we have this story. Family threatened with government fine for parking cars in their own driveway.
I'm angry. I am beyond angry. I don't see how the government can tell me whose car I can park in my own driveway.
They can file this application for $150 for a special permit. It requires a current boundary survey.
And the surveys, I was told, run anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000.
Did the county tell you that?
Yes. I'm having to pay to park on a property that I already pay tax on.
And also the reporter in the piece talks about how they can get a waiver this time, but next time those kids come home from school, they're going to have to pay that fine. Officials stress that the rules are based on conservation, a nod to a draconian Agenda 21-style mandate, which local governments are imposing in the line with United Nations recommendations based on environmental sustainability. Earlier this year, lawmakers in Texas introduced legislation in an effort to prevent local legislatures from participating in the scheme, with the GOP Senator Bob Hall speaking of the necessity to target city organizations in cities that are adopting these UN programs. And as we talk about the United Nations, it reminds me of a story Kid Daniels did, was it 2013, after we went to the Alamo. And it was very interesting to me that they attacked Kid on this, because any 12-year-old with an internet connection can go to the Alamo website and see that they were under proposition to become a United Nations World Heritage Site. And people said, "Oh, that's not true." And even some cocky anchor down in San Antonio took a shot at us, and we're like, no, any child can see that they're actually trying to make it a United Nations World Heritage Site. But these are the type of things that they're doing. And I want people to make a note of this, that it's not a homeowners association that's doing this. This is the county, Cobb County in Georgia, because we've heard stories of people being having these type of measures against them. Veterans told that they can't put a flag in their front yard, or can't wash a car outside. You can't let soap go into the sewer and all these other type of things. But this is the actual county coming after you if you dare have a car in your own driveway. And even more than that, if you guys go watch the full clip of what we just showed you, somebody snitched on these guys. It's like there's somebody in the neighborhood running around counting the cars in somebody's driveway and then calling up the code enforcement, like, "Hey, we got one over here, you can come get it." I mean, it's ridiculous. This is the snitch society, and it just goes to show the type of world we're living in when you can't even park a car in your own driveway. They are not going to leave you alone. Let's talk about something else. Another way they're not going to leave you alone, if you're a veteran and, you come back from combat, or you come back from overseas, and you want your rights, just like we saw recently in a story we'll get to a little bit later, talking about the Marines. They want to have the ability to carry a pistol on them if they're working in these recruitment offices. And like I said, we'll get to that in 1 second. But these guys, they go overseas, they come back, they want their First Amendment rights, they want all their rights. They want the right to do whatever they want to do because they went over there and fought for it. And now they're trying to confiscate these guys' firearms. And we have Obama to issue executive order targeting 4.2 million retirees with a massive gun ban. Because seizing firearms from veterans has been so successful, they figure they'll give it a shot on a much more massive scale. And they'll be using a presidential order to make that happen, an executive order. Seeking tighter controls over firearm purchases, the Obama administration is pushing to ban Social Security beneficiaries from owning guns if they lack the mental capacity to manage their own affairs, a move that could affect millions whose monthly disability payments are handled by others. The push is intended to bring the Social Security Administration in line with laws regulating who gets reported to the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, or NICS, which is used to prevent gun sales to felons, drug addicts, and so on and so forth. So let's say you're a veteran or just somebody who's collecting a disability check, and you say, "Hey, I need help balancing my checkbook." That could potentially bar you from owning a firearm, and they send somebody to go and get your firearm in this case. And anybody says, oh, they never did that in this country. Well, they did it in Hurricane Katrina. And it wasn't even about disability. It's just they went and knocked on your door and tackled an old lady, knocked her to the ground. It's on YouTube right now. You can type in Hurricane Katrina gun confiscation. So it has happened and continues to happen in the United States of America, while people say it's a conspiracy theory that these things go on and that you don't need a firearm because a paper sign that says gun-free zone is going to save you, although we all know that is not the case. Just look what happened in Chattanooga. Now let's move on to something else. So let's talk about things that move you. Let's talk about your vehicle. And we've talked a lot about this. Myself, David Knight. David Knight is especially against these self-driving cars. And it's not because he's a technophobe. It's that he recognizes you have a phone, you have a computer, you have a video game system. How often do these things crash? How often do these things freeze? Or are these things susceptible to hacking? Of course they are. And we know this, so when we think about a moving vehicle, we don't want these things to happen to us. And now we actually have it to where guys have hacked a Jeep Cherokee and actually prevented the person driving from using the brakes.
Okay, do it. Do it. Kill the engine.
So we're killing the engine right now.
It says park sense. Actually can't accelerate.
I stomped on the gas, but the Jeep slowed to a crawl.
It says 43 miles an hour, but I'm not going that fast.
I turned on my hazard lights, but I was still stuck in the right lane with no shoulder to escape onto.
Guys, I'm stuck on the highway.
What are you saying?
Oh, I think he's panicking.
And it was just last week I did a report about how one of these self-driving cars was hit. It was rear-ended. Now, and to be fair, in that case, it wasn't the car's fault, the self-driving car. It was hit by somebody else. But it begs the question, if a human driver was in control of the vehicle, could they have avoided the collision altogether, just pulled off to the side? Or also, we saw the other self-driving car. A journalist was looking at it, and I'm not sure what gave this guy such confidence that he would stand in front of a moving vehicle expecting it to stop like the Batmobile. But he stood there, gets plowed down by this car, and I'm hoping people start to realize that these things are not foolproof. Even we talk about the advances in technologies, right? And the reason why drones are so popular, one, you don't put troops in harm's way, but there's this almost urban legend effect that people think that drones have this surgical precision that they can zero in on a target and just take out that one target. No, the way drones work is they send it over there and they knock down half an apartment complex to kill 2 people. The way drones work, they drive over there, they see a wedding party, they blow up everybody in the party, and it turns out that nobody in the party was affiliated with the drone in the first place. And the reason I talk about that is just advances in technology. These things are not foolproof. It takes years of beta testing before they even get to the point where they're palatable. But these self-driving cars are not that to this point. So I definitely encourage you not to put your life on the line with one of these vehicles. Just drive yourself. And I understand there are applications for a self-driving car. You know, you're driving down the street, you have a heart attack. You know, you're in the car by yourself. Maybe this thing can drive you to the hospital. I understand that. I'm saying by and large, these things are not as consumer friendly as they would like you to believe. And anybody who has a grudge against you, you know, ex-girlfriend, whoever, that they wanted to, they could hack in and destroy your car, make you run into a pole. Or even if you're not in the car, just drive your car into a lake. All types of ill-mannered things could happen from these vehicles. Now let's switch gears and talk about transportation in a different way. And we have the article, record number of Syrians granted asylum in the United States. More than 800 individuals from Syria were granted asylum in 2013. The highest number since the Department of Homeland Security began tracking such data. The likely explanation for the 2013 figures, the most recent year for which the data is available, is the ongoing civil war in Syria, in which Iran and the Islamic State play a key role. And that's exactly right, but we cannot forget that some of the things that are going on out there are directly attributed to the United States government. We have people airdropping grenades over to ISIS militants, refugees, whatever the correct terminology may be. We've all seen the video that came out last year. You know, it's huge pallets of grenades, rockets, and all these things. And then somebody had the gall to say, well, you know, a couple pallets of grenades is not going to defeat the United States military. I'm sure it won't, but it will kill many innocent, unarmed people over there in Syria. So, you know, we have this mentality in the United States government that we'll go tear up a country and then we'll just allow the people to come over here to our country. And once again, I have no issue with Syrian refugees. I don't have an issue with anybody who chooses to come to this country in a legal and lawful way. My issue comes around when we set up a border patrol, we set up ICE stations, and then we just award people who can sneak past them. It just doesn't make sense to me why I would spend money on one while, completely disregarding the other. So, I have no issue with the Syrian people coming here, but I hope that we can get to a point where there is no longer a Syrian conflict, or if there is a conflict, it has nothing to do with us funding either side of the opposition. And I'm not vouching for Assad. I'm not saying Assad's a good guy, but Assad isn't airdropping grenades to people who are out there burning down Christian villages, chopping people's heads off, having little kids run around with AK-47, shooting people in the back of the head. All types of wild shenanigans going on over there. And it's directly because the United States military, and even not the military, let me see, the people above them. Because once again, it's not the troops' fault, because the troops recognize what's going on out there, and they actually said we refuse to be part of Al-Qaeda's Air Force when they wanted to send them over there in times previous. So the troops know what's going on, but for some reason, the American people at large just can't seem to understand that we're funding this conflict. And people know, the people over there in Syria definitely know, and that's why they're coming here. But hopefully when they get here and they start to tell their story, people will realize this is not the correct way to go about the Syrian conflict.
To celebrate the birth of our country and give a big thanks to all the info warriors out there, we are now offering free shipping on every item shipped out of the InfowarsStore.com warehouse. That's free shipping on all t-shirts, books, and DVDs. Free shipping on Molan Labe and 1776 belt buckles, which are also 25% off while supplies last. Free shipping on all of our InfowarsLife.com nutraceuticals. If it's in the InfowarsStore.com warehouse, it's shipping for free, all during the month of July. It's our way of saying thanks to the true heart and soul of this operation, who stand beside us and support us as we wage an info war for liberty and freedom for all. InfowarsStore.com, free shipping for the month of July.